Today I'm going to replace the rear brake pads on my Scott Scale 960 mountain bike with Shimano M6000 series hydraulic brakes and BO1S Resin pads. This information will be helpful for any Shimano equipped bike. I have many other videos showing general automotive work, modifications, and tips. If you find this video helpful, consider subscribing and watching the other videos. To subscribe, just click on the Stiles icon in the lower right of the screen. Tools and consumables I need include a needle nose pliers to straighten the cotter pin, or slotted pin as Shimano calls it, some kind of a flat tool to push the pistons back in on the calipers after I remove the pads, and of course new brake pads. Notice that these come with the cotter pin and the pad spring. I'm going to start with putting the bike in the highest gear or the smallest sprocket, inverting the bike on the handlebars and seat, and removing the rear wheel. I'm going to straighten the cotter pin and then remove it. I don't need to reuse it. The new pads came with new cotter pin. The old pad's still in the caliper. I'm going to push the pistons in fully, just using a screwdriver. That way I don't damage the pistons, because I don't care about the old pads anyway. Shimano says if oil adheres to the brake pads, if the brake pads are worn down to a thickness of 0.05 millimeters, or if the brake pad pressure springs are interfering with the disc brake rotor, replace the brake pads. So my pads were squeaking and oily, that's why I'm replacing them. They're not worn out, at least they don't appear to be yet. But I want to replace them because I've gotten oil on them. I've attempted to clean them with disc brake cleaner, so I'm just going to push the pads out, squeeze them together just a little bit, and they just come out the bottom. Notice how the spring is maintaining tension on them, so if I squeeze them together, it's going to keep the spring compressed in between them as I'm taking them out. That's the way I got to put them back in. I'm using mechanics gloves or disposable nitride gloves, disc brake cleaner, safety glasses, and just a little brush to get in and clean those pistons, clean that caliper while I've got those pads off. Just a little mechanical scrubbing action to clean them, and then a good rinse with brake cleaner. Then the pads go back together just like the old ones came apart. The spring goes around the outside of the pad. Make sure the holes are lined up. Hold them together with your finger. Slide them as an assembly back into the caliper. Have the pads all the way down into the caliper. I'm going to attempt to put the cotter pin in. I have to wiggle it and move the pads around. Nope, it's going to go right in. Oh, so the kit came with two different size cotter pins, one slightly longer than the other. I just selected the shorter one. What I should have done is gone back and looked at my original pin and compared it to the new pins. So they're just a little bit longer than the one I selected. So I'm going to take that one back out. So this one, if I can line them up here for you. The one I selected is the top one here, just a little bit shorter than the other ones. So I'm going to go back and select the new longer one, push that in, and you can see it here protruding out of the caliper. So all I need to do is hold the pin in so it doesn't come out at all, and then bend over the large tab. It's the only one that was bent over before. Bend that over so it doesn't come back out. I'm going to make sure my two pads are still all the way out here so I can get my rotor back in when I put my wheel back on. Shimano says you should measure the thickness of the rotors. There's a minimum thickness for them, and they should be replaced periodically. I didn't do that. I didn't show you how to do that. My pads were oil soaked. That's why I replaced them. To make sure that your rotors aren't worn out. Well, that concludes the video. Let me know in the comments if you found it helpful, and please subscribe. I'm going to clean my dirty chain and go for a test ride.